Hello everybody, welcome to Roundtable's special series, Railway Trip in Tibetan Style. I'm He Yang. Today I'm joined by my friends Lai Ming and Huangshan. And today guys, well if you're watching the video then you'd realize that we are in traditional Tibetan garbs.
Oh, thanks for the explanation. Because just now I was wondering, who am I doing this show with? You've got people, no, He Yang has got precious metal swinging back and forth on her forehead.
What about me?
Yeah, also precious metal.
Yes, I guess the metals are pretty cheap. Probably.
They're supposed to be precious.
Spiritually, they are meaningful and precious, I would say.
And these accessories and precious stones, they're important to the Tibetan people. For example, like the amber I'm wearing and the turquoise that Huangshan is wearing on the very beautiful headpiece on her head. You know, these things, they're precious in the sense that they're also considered to the local Tibetan people as good for health and spiritual well-being. And they incorporate it into everyday attire. So we're trying this thing out. And how are you feeling in the traditional Tibetan attire here, sir, Lai Ming?
Usually I'm into sports attire. So
casual wear.
Very comfy. This thing here, I feel like I need to have a bulky, have some bulky muscles here in order to
pecs and triceps.
Look really buff and to really, in Chinese we say 撑起来.
Oh yeah.
To live up to
Put it up.
to what a cloth should indicate. And so right now in this attire, I feel like I'm obligated to
put your chest out.
Yeah. I wouldn't say push my chest out. Looking a little stiff here.
Yeah.
And I say you look wonderful.
Thank you.
It's nice to see you in a completely different style of attire. And Huangshan, you are beautiful.
Thank you.
Extraordinarily beautiful, in my opinion. So what is this particularly traditional Tibetan style that you're wearing?
I think this is Lhasa style, right? And this is a very colorful, and because when we asked the owner of the costume shop, and she said that usually for young girls, they like to wear the costume in really bright colors and to show off their strength and their energy and also their vitality. But for not older ladies, but ladies who are more mature, they want to keep a low profile. So they prefer to find a colors that are more plain and to keep a very low key. And I think this costume is very functional and it's very fashionable because you can see the turquoise blue colored blouse and with red and green and black colored robe. So I think it's amazing, and it can cover the fat around your belly, so it's amazing. But I do agree with you, Lai Ming, that when you are wearing this costume, sorry for the button is open because it's really tight here, and I need to keep doing the button here. And I think I do agree with you, Lai Ming, is that when you are dressing this costume, you have to pay attention to your posture. It seems like you have to sit really straight in order to show the beauty of this costume. And earlier I mentioned it's very functional because behind me, around the back,
another sleeve.
Yeah, because we know the weather in Lhasa, you can experience 4 seasons just in one day. So probably in the morning and in the evening you feel pretty cold, then you need to put the sleeve back on. So it's a full set of the costume. But in the summer, in the summertime, and especially during the afternoon, you may feel a little bit hot and the sunlight is really strong here, and you can put
put it in the back. Swing it to the back. And yes, if you're watching the video, Lai Ming and I are also in this type of Tibetan garb. Yes, and we asked the store owner what kind of style does this represent, and it is apparently Thangka style. So in the Thangka area, it is also very cold during the night, and it gets hot during the day. And with this long sleeve, it keeps your hands warm. And now, while it's quite comfortable weather, we're in right now. So Liming and I both have the other sleeves thrown back in the back of us. And yeah, but I do love this sleeve because you know, apparently for Tibetan people, because they're such good singers and dancers, and then with this long sleeve, you know, it just adds flavor to the singing and dancing too. So, and Liming, you know, he's the smart, shrewd guy, and he's got it rolled up, very functional.
There's
so he can.
A bob pin here that helps me keep it in place.
I thought he figured out some magic way to, like, you know, put it up, but there you go. And we're doing this little dress up for a special reason.
Yes.
Because we're at a very special place right now. Okay. We are in Norbulingka, which is the summer palace.
Yeah.
Chengde, an equivalent of that would be Chengde Bishu Shanzhuang, which is the summer palace for the Qing emperors.
Yeah, and the winter palace is the Potala Palace.
Right.
Yeah. And also what's extra special, in my opinion, is if you may look back to the background, we have this glittering golden architecture with these white and blue
and yellow.
Yeah. What would you call them? They're kind of like fans, I think, to sort of maybe to get rid of sunlight or whatnot.
Shield, probably.
Yeah,
screen.
Screen.
Very, no, screen is a better word actually. You know, very beautiful. And this is the Dragon King Temple, and we are doing this show right in front of it, and you can hear the water, right?
Yes.
The water, there's a lake surrounding us, and there's
there are fish. There's fish in the water. I can see right now.
What a perfect place for meditation and chanting.
I know.
Yeah.
If we start meditating here, then who's gonna do the show?
Yes, I'm just trying to like take in the tranquility, and it's not so usual to have such beautiful surrounding and a little river that's just flowing by like that. And bear in mind there might be a little bit of construction noise in the background because in Norbulingka right now there is about half of the park is under construction, but it'll be welcoming guests and visitors very soon. So Liming, you being the history buff as you are, give us a little bit of the background and what do you know about this amazing place, Norbulingka in Chinese?
In recent history, people have been looking forward to celebrating the Shoton Festival. Oh, Shoton Festival is another concept we can introduce later on. People have been looking forward to celebrate the Shoton Festival here, but sadly and very unfortunately, we are experiencing a new round of COVID-19, the Delta strain, all around the country, and as a result, there's been a notice saying that all public gatherings are to be cancelled, and as a result, people usually hang out at Norbulingka, kind of like doing camping thing, picnicking thing.
过灵卡.
Yeah, 过灵卡, just spending the linka, and that's what they do. They stitch a tent and they eat stuff, eat snacks, and they sing and dance. So even now we see some visitors and tourists and also local people passing us by. And just now I was looking at an older man and a little child, and they were sitting under a tree, and the older man was feeding the younger child yogurt, spoon by spoon. And at one point, the little child bit the plastic spoon, so the old man couldn't get the plastic spoon out. So he used his little finger to dip the yogurt from the plastic bowl, and he licked the plastic spoon. It was a lovely and very tranquil moment, and I was happy that I was here.
It seems like for the Shoton Festival, having yogurt for local people is key to the festival, right? 雪炖 in Chinese.
Shou means yogurt, and dun means feast. So 雪炖节literally means yogurt feast festival.
Oh, and also the origin of the Shoton Festival is from, after a summer retreat for the monks, after they achieve their really intense training, and they will be served with yogurt, and that is believed to be the origin of the Shoton Festival.
Right.
And in terms of Norbulingka, it has been added to UNESCO World Heritage in 2001. Also, if we pay attention to the roofs of the older palaces and also the buildings, and the traditional Tibetan roof making techniques has been added to the Tibetan, Tibet's regional level of intangible cultural heritage.
Oh,
which is pretty cool. And
I think back then it was included in the UNESCO Cultural Heritage list along with the Patala Palace.
Yeah, especially
but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
it's the winter and summer palaces.
Especially the waterproof techniques and used in the renovation, and also in terms of the renovation of the whole palace, and the people who in charge of this project said they want to follow the principle or the philosophy of very minimum of intervention and also zero change, because they want to capture the original style of this palace. And also in a country, the government will arrange a large amount of special funds and to renovate this palace. So over the past decades, it's said that over 100 million yuan has been spent in renovating and keep the maintenance of this palace.
That's the sound of renovation that you just heard. And what's more interesting about this renovation project is they spend a lot of money. You just mentioned earlier. And how exactly is the money spent? Maybe from the picture you couldn't tell, but maybe you can. You can see the golden thing on top of the roof. It's gilded gold. So as a result, it's very costly if you want to renovate the roof, rooftop.
And I overheard one of the construction workers say, actually, before the construction, the leaders had to go to the bank to retrieve the gold. And
gold bars.
I don't know what exactly is the process, but they paint the gold onto the roofs and the sides of the buildings or whatnot. So people here are, I guess, very pious as well when it comes to religion, and they're not shy to see. They want to see astounding scenery, I think. So I think with the architecture, you can tell that there's definitely that glam that goes with it, and also the establishment of Norbulingka. It is not only, it was not only the summer palace for the Dalai Lama, and it started with the 7th Dalai Lama in the mid-18th century when that happened, 1752. 54, something like that, and trying to be exact. And so it also holds religious purposes. Yes. And there are so many beautiful yellow and red walls. I don't know if you can see in the background, but we're surrounded by them. And that is not what a common person would...
A common household.
They would not do that. So it signals this is a very religious place. And still till today, a lot of monks are living here, doing their prayers and practicing their religious matters here. So definitely a very interesting place. And when we're here, surrounded by so much nature, this is a garden. Right?
It's a palace and also a garden.
Yeah, this is I think it's called the Botanic Garden on the plateau. So this is unique in Lhasa and in Tibet.
It is kind of like the biggest park. And also, look at this. I couldn't tell what tree this is, but we did come across a lot of walnut fruits or walnut seeds on the floor.
And also apples.
And pears. Yeah. But apples and pears, they don't generate fruits because of the season and also because of the weather here. But yeah. Yeah, and today I am a garden buff for today. Yes. So basically, there are rows and rows of roses, hollyhocks, marigolds,
well, not this season, but in wintertime, chrysanthemums and lots of herbs and rare plants here. This is truly, I think, such a beautiful place to be immersed in nature. But this is man-made nature in a way. In a way.
It's certainly a very fantastic garden. And
an older gentleman is having a little bit of an issue in the background. And he's just gotten it out of him, so it's okay.
This palace/garden is open to everybody.
Great. And also, you know that because today is a very special day, so probably many locals, they want to celebrate, enjoy the festival in this beautiful place, and they can share food, drinks, and with their family and friends, and also they can dance in a traditional dancing movement.
No, I can't. I can only imitate these
and
two
also
moves.
they can like enjoy the traditional Tibetan opera as well.
Oh yeah.
On this special day. Yeah.
So the traditional Tibetan opera actually runs way back, like 1600 years ago, something along
1600.
So, and with the Tibetan traditional opera, actually there, well, okay, I'm not an expert, but from my research, it says like there's only like 2 musical instruments that's playing, and then it's mainly focusing on the opera side of
singing.
things. Yeah, so we haven't had a chance to experience that, but it would be great if we can on this trip. Let's see what happens next, you know.
We've had many good fortunes during our trip here. I mean, we
For example?
had a chance to look at the, what was the peak? Nanjabawa peak.
Yeah.
I was just told last night that a driver who's a professional driver who takes people around, he's been there 22 times and he's only seen the peak once.
With us.
So we were lucky to be able to see that. But on the other hand, the Tibetan opera thing, I mean, because of COVID, maybe originally there was going to be some performance here, but now that there are some suggestions against public gatherings, we probably won't be able to see it. But again, I mean, that's the charm or the thing with traveling. You see something, you miss something, and that gives you a reason to come back.
Yeah, that's the meaning of a journey. Sometimes you cannot like fulfill all the expectations in one trip, and it just gives you an opportunity to visit this place again and to explore and unlock some destinations that you failed to visit in the previous time. And also besides the West Dragon King Palace, there's another really amazing, how would you call that, the construction, the beauty?
The East Dragon.
No, that's not East Dragon. Is it the East Dragon Palace?
That's the West and the East.
Yeah, but
Dragon
it's a
Palace.
meditation center.
And I happen to have a little bit of notes here. So that what Huangshan was referring to was the Choosing Palace, and it was built under the reign of the 8th Dalai Lama between 1758 to 1804, and that place enshrines also 3,600 holy scriptures in that little building over there. And I had the chance to step in when you guys were busy. Sorry, guys. I deviated off the path for a little bit, and I was so surprised by how relatively small it is. Like the ceilings are not that high, and then the holy scriptures, they've been piled up one by one in glass cases, and I guess it just keeps the air out, I guess. Good for preservation. Yes, of course. Of course. And we are in a garden after all. So this place has been constructed for about 200 plus years.
Wow. Yeah. Relatively young compared to other buildings in the city.
I guess so. In China, you know, we are the offspring of an ancient civilization, and a lot of history is what we live around.
Yeah, think about it. The other day we had a Tibetan hot pot at Bangdachang. That building, like we said earlier, was more than 300 years old. So Norbulingka, relatively young.
It's really beautiful, and especially the colors of the walls, and they are representing the religious colors for the Buddhism and in Tibet,
Yes.
and which are just yellow and the brick
Brownish
red, and also black. So, but now it has turned to a tourist site, and many people from other places of the country, they want to come all the way to this place and take advantage of the beautiful walls at the background and to make a photo for the social media. And earlier, before we entered to this garden and this palace, we saw a couple. They were dressed in the traditional costume.
Just like us.
Yeah, they were
But fancier though.
fancier though.
Oh, yeah.
It was really magnificent. You know, show your like a status, and which was they look very rich based on the decorations and embroideries and accessories on their outfit, and they
look very rich also by the cameraman that hired.
And they were taking wedding photos here. Pretty
yes.
cool.
Yeah, this is something that we saw along the way in Tibet. Basically, this is such a beautiful place with so much history and culture and magnificent architecture with bright colors, you know, and then that's just a really stunning background to have, and I'm not surprised that so many young people, newlyweds or couples to be, who knows, they spend a lot of money to come over and do the wedding shoots or pre-wedding shoots, and and wouldn't it be just really cool if you did that at the Potala Palace that we visited the other day, or here in the Norbulingka Park? And that's something you can talk about when you're 60 years old together, or growing old with teeth falling out, and just think, when we did that.
And your love survived the altitude sickness.
Oh, that's so romantic. And bear in mind, we're still about 3,700 meters above sea level now. And I think I've gained my strength back a little bit.
A little bit.
Gradually.
It looks better now.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all the help you've provided. And so this is truly a garden in very high altitude, making it very special. And all the plants here, a lot of it you would never be able to see it elsewhere.
I'd like to bring back the earlier point, and that is people are being quite out there. The building and the costume, the thing that we wear, people are being quite out there, being outspoken in terms of the color they choose and the kind of style and the kind of activities they like to engage in. And I just see this comparison or this contrast from the Han Chinese people, because I've traveled to southern China, to Guizhou and to Yunnan, and if you look at the traditional attire, I mean, the Guizhou, the Miao people, they are very famous for their silverware, along with the costume. The same goes for the costume that Heyang is wearing and Huangshan is wearing. Very colorful and a lot of precious stones, a lot of jewelries, a lot of precious metal. So I'm just fascinated by this contrast, how the Han Chinese people appear to be quite reserved, whereas the rest of the nation, they're quite outspoken and out there.
Yeah, I think with ethnic minorities, they do have, not all, but the few that Laiming just mentioned just now, they do have these very colorful and vibrant traditional attire, and now people probably don't wear them every day. Like, when we walked by the street, the looks we got, the locals knew that we're like blow-ins. But, you know, I tried to like fake it a little bit, but I don't think I got my steps right. But this is really becoming one of the staple things to do for maybe young people these days. When they come to Tibet, it's like, I gotta try the local attire. I gotta put the whole thing on and take the photos.
Can I give my Ningqi style some airtime?
Your Ningqi style, of course.
Because the first day when we arrived at Lhasa, me and Heyang, we went to a traditional costume shop as well, and I put on a set of the traditional costume from the Ningqi style.
Oh, yeah?
It's very different from the Lhasa style. Basically, you just wear a traditional robe and the inside of a vest. And a vest is basically, you can choose whatever colors you want, but the one I chose was in black color and with really colorful embroideries, which is super pretty. And also you have a hat. And this whole set is for the festival. And also the most important thing, the most interesting thing for the hat is that there's a pair of wings on the back of the hat. And you can put a hat either like make the wings at the back of your hat or put the directions from the left to right. It shows the marital status of a lady.
I see.
So if you put the wings at the back, it means you're a married lady. And if you put it like on the right or the left, it means like this lady is unmarried. And also that part is so fascinating, and you can tell even in the same region and in different cities, people dress in different styles. I think this is a very interesting thing for me.
It is a very mountainous region, so people back then were probably quite separated from each other, which explains a lot of conflicts in ancient history in this part of the region. And it was only when Tibet had a unified rule, you see the economic development and you see improvement in people's lives. And at least in this bit of history, in this region, you see division bringing chaos and sacrifice and sufferings.
And
it's getting a bit too deep.
And unity brings in peace, and that's what I think people ultimately want.
Yeah.
You're listening to Roundtable. I'm He Yang. Here's Lai Ming and Huang Shen. We're all in traditional Tibetan attire, and we'll be back after this break. Don't go away. Welcome back to Roundtable. I am He Yang, and I've got the amazing Lai Ming and Huang Shen here with me. We are at the high altitude garden park, Norbulingka. And Norbulingka, somebody would possibly say it that way. And we are here in the surrounding of nature, of a river, of ancient trees, and also of tourists and local Tibetan people who are also just walking by right now. And this is the ambience that you would be listening to or seeing if you're checking out our video. And during the little break we just had, I felt a ghastly wind. That wind was a little cold, so I had to just, throw on this other sleeve. And I'm now very warm and comfy. So there's a reason.
This is a different look.
Oh, really?
You can have two looks in a day just by wearing the same thing.
Tibetan princess.
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. How versatile this dress can be, this attire can be. So there's a reason why it's designed this way, and to me,
you just proved it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've done that, apparently. Yes, so we are here, and this is a special day for a lot of our Tibetan friends in this country because it's Shoton
Festival.
Yeah. That is
the Yoga Feast Festival.
Yeah, and
Where's the yogurt?
good question.
I need yogurt. I need yogurt. I need yogurt.
And let's see if a genie from a bottle can come out and serve us yogurt. Still waiting. And originated from the 11th century, the Shoton Festival. It lasts for usually a week, and it happens on the last day of the 6th month in the Tibetan calendar.
Yeah.
And it falls on the 8th of August this year. So this is a very festive period.
A week of celebrations, doing picnicking in a park like this, Norbulingka, and enjoying, we mentioned earlier, Tibetan opera, and what else?
The display of the Buddha.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
so the 折棒式,
Yes.
if I can pretend it, it's a 折棒.
Yeah. Is that the start of the celebration or the display of the Thangka?
It's the biggest temple here in Tibet.
Ah.
So every year at this time of the year during the festival, they will display a huge, is it Thangka? A huge Thangka of the Buddha. So it's very, very crowded.
Yeah.
How would you explain to people what Thangka means?
Thangka is, well, traditional Tibetan painting. Usually it tells a religious or historical story. Something transpired in the past. A very famous story about a very famous Lama in the past, that sort of thing. So, and the making of Thangka requires a very strict set of rules. You can't just go ahead and get a piece of cloth and just start painting. So, but I'm not very well versed in the details. But suffice to say, there's a set of rules, and the more patience, the more deference you pay to the rules, the more valuable that piece of Thangka is going to be.
Well, I don't have the full story in a detailed picture, but I do know that I think for Tang, that character, it means like, you know, the vicissitude of life and above and after life. I mean, there's a lot of religious meanings to it, and the ka bit means, I think, blank. So it's like, you know, and Liming talked about, you know, the painting. So the ka is the blank bit, and
The scroll, or the cloth.
And I just, I like to get a little bit
Spiritual?
from time to time.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's about how do you fill in the blanks, you know, and then with such colorful and bright colors that's been used to paint the Thangka. And how do you, you know, think about this in life? How do you fill in the blanks? And with what brushes and colors and shades are you willing to do that? I think there's just, when you've got, you know, religious thinking behind a lot of these paintings, and it's a fascinating process how people come up with these things.
During our conversation at the restaurant hotel, Bandachang, I think I mentioned how people could spend at least half a year or sometimes more than 10 years in finishing a piece of Thangka. And to follow up with He Yang's description, what are you putting or what do you put on the scroll? What do you put on the cloth? Sometimes it's not just the color or the colors. Sometimes it's your time, your attention, your dedication. And so, which is why I said earlier, the more patience you afforded the painting, the more valuable it is to you or to those who appreciate your effort.
Yeah, I really hope we can get a chance and to visit some museums that has the displays of the famous Thangkas in the region.
Right.
It's very interesting to capture all the histories and key moments of the Buddhism in the painting. In this way, it gives you a very vivid interpretation of what has happened in the past, and you can just like immerse yourself into the atmosphere, like happened maybe hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah, it requires you to have a picture that's already in your mind. Here in China, we tend to say in your heart.
Yeah.
But that means a lot. Last year, I traveled to Guizhou, and there was a very famous piece of art that's called Zharan. So tie dyeing.
Yeah.
So, but before you do this, sometimes the artists they draw some patterns on the piece of cloth or on the piece of T-shirt. And many of the expert artists, they have the whole picture in their mind, and so they can go ahead and paint at will. And whereas the amateurs, they spend years, if not decades, trying to get into that kind of level of expertise. Likewise, when it comes to Thangka, I think it helps a lot when you have a story in your mind, specifically referring in relation to Tibetan Buddhists or the believers of Tibetan Buddhism. If they have a story in their mind, if they know the story very well, they would have a picture in their mind as to what they want to paint, and then they could spend their time. Sometimes I had a chance to look at somebody doing Thangka painting. The amount of attention is stunning. They have to
zero in
on the cloth.
Yeah.
Like just several centimeters or just 1 inch, several inches away from your eyes.
And you must
you're
have
focusing on every little tiny nuance of that Thangka.
They must have really good eyesight.
Maybe they'll begin with very good eyesight. At the end of their career, they do pay a very top price.
Yeah, it's interesting when you talk about this particular kind of art, and whenever you've got the religious background in it, I think it just adds a flair of, in a way, mystery for those who are not particularly, aligned to that religion, but also, just the devotion people give to it. I think that's always something that, at least I personally have great respect to. And when we talk about these kind of paintings and such great attention to detail and such vibrant colors, that is very much a feature of Tibetan art, in my opinion. This reminds me of, though, in shanshuihua, in like
landscape painting,
like and a lot of in ancient China, I think it's a lot of the Han magistrates, often with the intellectual background, wenren, would have this kind of and holding position, maybe in the government, and sometimes maybe expelled to a remote place, and then that person would be writing poems and painting and drawing paintings too. And it's so important to liu bai, to leave the blank. And that's something I find so interesting in Chinese culture. It's like, sometimes what's unsaid is the most beautiful, and that is also, the most important. So, and that also adds to the nuance of the culture and trying to understand what people really mean sometimes. I mean, well, this is kind of, translating from the drawing, the painting, to the way people behave. But in painting, like, usually, often, there are, like, so many just intricate strokes in shui mo hua, right, in the brush and ink painting, and so much is left untouched in the background. And I think that's just something just a little bit different from the Tibetan art that we've seen here so far.
Yeah, I was just wondering, as you were saying, whether this explains the earlier puzzlement that we had, the contrast between the kind of styles of clothing that Han Chinese people would enjoy compared to the clothing, enjoyed or dressed by ethnic minorities here in China. The contrast in the colors that they use, and the contrast in the jewelries and trinkets that they use. Maybe this is the reason that we've been all looking for. So maybe here for Han Chinese people, there is the appreciation for the blackness, for immense possibilities, for immense possibilities. Whereas for the ethnic minorities, I know at least for the Miao people, they are out there with the wealth because they think this shows that they live a happy life, and also that they can take care of themselves very well, and they are proud of it.
Sometimes the artworks and also the language can reflect an ethnic group's personality. Like for Han people, and we speak Mandarin, and you can tell we are very subtle. There are lots of like hidden messages like entailed in just one sentence. And this way, I think we don't like to spoon-feed people, but we like to, just as I mentioned, Liu Bai, you want to have some blank space out there and give your viewer or your audience a chance and to use their own imagination and to interpret a story you want to convey to them. Like you are the creator of a piece of art, but all the audiences or the people who appreciate your artworks, they still have the right to tell their own story they get from your painting or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a very special series that Roundtable is doing.
Yeah.
And some of our shows have already been aired, and we got some questions coming from our listeners.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. I can read out one.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from Yu Li Yi Zhong or Yu Li Yi Chong. You know, like with some Chinese characters, the same exact character can be pronounced very differently. Okay, so he's got a question for us, and here it goes. Actually, you've got a series of questions for us.
A lot of questions.
All right, so here is what you want to say. How can we get from Beijing or Shanghai to Tibet? Well, this we can say for sure as an answer.
Good aspers in that.
We mentioned earlier on our earlier episodes that every time I was here prior to this trip, I flew from Beijing to Lhasa. There's a Gongga Airport, international airport, so you can definitely fly there. And there's also another airport in Ningqi, and I think we were about to visit. And there's an airport there, and these two airports I know. Maybe there are more airports in all of Tibet, but the answer is definitely you can fly from major cities, Beijing and Shanghai, and to your preferred destinations. Or you can also travel by train like we did.
Yeah.
And there are also many options. I think if you travel by train from Beijing, there's that option. It might take you 48 hours.
Over
2 days at least, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you have multiple options. It depends on which you prefer. Like I mean, earlier you mentioned like flight, and there are direct flights from Shanghai to Lhasa and also Beijing to Lhasa. And after you arrive at Lhasa, and you can take high-speed rails to some really popular tourist cities like Ningqi, Chikasa, and wherever you want to go. And there are also some like slow-speed trains available for you, and also you can hire a bus and to tour you around. If you are a train person, you just enjoy the sceneries along the railway, and the best part, I think, the best solution I would say is just follow our steps. Like you can just take the flight from Beijing or Shanghai to Xining, because no matter where you start a journey, you have to transfer at Xining station and embark on a train that has the oxygen supply. That is very important. And later you can take and then after taking the flight from Beijing or Shanghai to Xining, and then you take the train from Xining to Lhasa. And earlier I talked to a local person. I asked her which is her preferred way, and because she studied in Fujian province and she came back for the summer break, and she said actually for locals they prefer to take a direct flight. Yeah, but for other people there are some travelogues and suggest tourists like probably you can just take trains, which is better than a flight because you can gradually adjust to the feelings brought by the altitude sickness.
Right.
Yeah.
What about your answer?
The train's great, you know, and we feature that a lot on the show, you know. So
it is railway tripping Tibetan style.
That's really great. You know, I'm always, you know, supporting our show in that sense. But I still think flight has its advantages. Let's just put it there. And also, there are plenty of other questions that are coming our way. Actually, you know, from Yu Li Yi Chong.
Yeah.
So basically, let's see if we can answer them. It shouldn't be too difficult. Okay, so in Tibet, do people have any hotels for tourists? Is there electricity in the city? Do they have the supply of electricity to watch TV and to use the internet, for example?
No, there are no hotels in Lhasa. We're sleeping in the streets. I was kidding. We stayed in hotels.
For sure.
Of course there are hotels, international hotels.
And there
Intercontinental, please.
Yeah, there are a lot of like 5-star hotels in Lhasa
And hostels too.
Yeah.
So whatever range, your price range is, you can go for it.
Based on your budget, and definitely their water, electricity supplies. And many people have some stereotypes of Tibet or any cities in the region. But if you just have a chance to visit here, you can tell the urbanization process here is very mature. And it's just like visiting any other cities, but with a very, very different cultural and religious background. It's just a sacred place for people, anyone, no matter you believe in Buddhism or not. It's just a place with purity and that kind of holiness, I would say.
Yes, and as to, well, you did mention electricity. I was just about to joke with it. No, we don't have electricity here, but this phone I charged before I came here several days ago. Yes, we did have electricity. We do have electricity. We have, in fact, 5G in most of the Lhasa city.
Yeah.
Rest of the Tibet, I mean, at least we have 4G.
The network is even faster than our office.
It is. I'm not kidding.
Places.
I'm not kidding. It's faster than in my office. And also, the only places that we might have a little difficulty connecting to the internet is perhaps in the tunnels.
Yeah.
Connecting Lhasa to Ningqi on the railway.
Yeah.
So, yes, we have good infrastructure so far.
And also, there's one more question. What do people do for a living in Lhasa? And I think that's a really good question. Also, like sometimes we might be a little surprised that do sometimes people live under a rock or whatnot, but some of these comments actually came from Facebook or various platforms.
Yeah.
So I guess it just gives you all the reason to watch and listen to Roundtable because you can get the on-the-ground real perspective and view on what happens here in China. So yes. We've been in Lhasa in Tibet for a few days now, and we've seen people living their lives. I'd say just like people earning a living, raising a family, and pursuing their goals and aspirations, just like folks anywhere else.
Yeah.
Just minus maybe some people wear like what I'm wearing like this during celebrations. Maybe not every day, but depends where you're at in Tibet. So what do you guys say to this question? What do people do as a living? How do people like live, survive in Tibet?
Well, there are some differences from the other parts of the world. In the Bakwo Street and surrounding the Drokhan Temple, sometimes you see very pious Buddhists or just believers of Buddhism doing long kowtow, prostrate and prayer outside of the Drokhan Temple. I think for those people, at least temporarily, they're not working. And for those people, they might rely on the goodwill of other people to sustain themselves. But these are very rare exceptions. For Lhasa, they do have various forms of industries. And yes?
Yeah. Is there a siren at the background?
No, that's the drill.
Construction. Yeah, the drill from the construction.
And also, there are a few moms just bringing their little kids around
that's so cute.
to visit the garden, to visit the park. This is the real life of everyday people, I would say.
Yeah, we are actually intruding. We're not from here, and we need permissions to enter this park, whereas those people, as long as they have a local residence card, they are free to enter this park. So we apologize for taking up this space.
And I think my answer to the question is, to some extent, I don't know how to answer this question. It's just kind of based on stereotype or kind of stigma, because if you visit another city, you ask a person there how you make for a living. It based on your industry, like your profession and what you work in, and It just every person is doing their own job, and some people are working in tourism, some people are working in the service industry. People are just like people from other places. They're just doing their job, and they can make a really good life with their diligence and their work ethic. And but I would say probably in different regions they have a different signature industry. For example, in Chicasa, they're really good in agriculture, and many people are engaged in this industry. And in Ninchi, because of the beautiful scenery, the stunning landscapes, and many people are working in the tourism industry. And you can tell now many people, they used to be farmers, now they're running their own hostels and trying to accommodate people from other parts of the country who are interested in local culture and local cuisine.
Yeah,
Right.
Airbnb is big here.
Yeah.
Homestay business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe not that particular platform, but there are various platforms doing the same thing. Of,
We do have Sea Trip.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, just renting and leasing your own like room, or house, that kind of thing. So there's definitely that. And also I saw, just folks who are scooter drivers, delivering food. You've got those folks, you've got people who work for the government, you've got people who are running these small kiosks, just like anywhere else in the world, having a small convenience store. And tour guides, we've bumped into a few of these very nice local people, and also traditional like herdsmen. Maybe they still live in the mountains, and still. Well, that is a lifestyle. That is very appealing to.
It is.
If you have the right character, I think, or if you see that there is good opportunity for income, or bringing in stable revenue, that kind of thing. And some of these herdsmen and their families, they're still grazing the animals, still living a rather traditional kind of lifestyle, but now you've got tourists who are coming over, you've got people who want to buy the dairy products, for example, that they can make, and the economy is very different now, is what I want to say here. But it also means that, with this traditional kind of lifestyle or just making money, it still has a place today. So people have their own choices and make their own choices.
You can't really have a very vibrant city that's prone to traffic congestions during rush hours in the evening if there's
Say a little bit more about that.
If there isn't a healthy economy. Well, we did run into traffic congestion on our way from the train station to our hotel. It was if it wasn't for the traffic congestion, it would only take us 20 hours, but we end up spending 40. And at some point, the roads were just sealed, airtight. Yeah. So maybe if we are looking for something to improve in this part of the country, we might think that perhaps the city is growing too fast, that the city planners haven't accounted for that rapid development, and especially in terms of the infrastructure, the roads.
Yes, and maybe people started owning cars, and I remember maybe this is pretty common for any society when you reach a certain level of development, and then people want their own cars because it's really convenient. And then when car ownership, the number of that grows to an unprecedented speed, and then you have congestion problems, and also the city arrangement, which cannot be easily changed once the city is set up. And, there are these conflicts, and there are these issues that kind of need to be solved to make people's, urban living a little bit better.
It's something every city has to deal with.
Yeah.
Another thing is, many years ago when we were here, I think Yang, you and I were here.
On a business trip.
When we took taxis.
You don't need to clarify that, to be honest.
Okay. When we took taxis, they had an arrangement of taking on more passengers, even when there are passengers already on board. So I wonder, this time around we haven't had a chance to really take a taxi, so I wonder whether this has changed. They do have taxi-hailing applications like Didi, so I wonder whether anything like this has changed over time.
But Living, actually that makes a lot of sense. Like last time, you know, I don't remember that part actually, but anyhow, isn't it kind of like carpooling for taxis, right? But how smart people can, well, it's also economical. But now with the COVID-19 situation, probably that is not encouraged. Not encouraged. Yeah.
Maybe the next step is to further develop the public transportations that's more eco-friendly, and you can give people a better chance and to travel in the public facilities, and this way they can also save some expenses because you don't need to maintain a car. It's very expensive, I would say.
Yeah. And as you were talking about public transportation, I was thinking about people dressed up like this and getting on board public transportation. I mean, that's the thing to look at compared to what we normally experience in big cities like Beijing.
Or just like what we look now, people are staring at us because we...
It's okay. We're seeing.
Yeah. It's funny when you mention the life in Beijing, because right now that just feels, I might have said this before, but I'm going to say it again because that's how I feel in Tibet a lifetime ago. I feel like a different person here.
Yeah.
It is.
Maybe because there's so much contact with nature. Like the minute you step outside of your house, if you want to, you can be in nature. And that's not something we have in Beijing.
No.
So it gives you a different kind of vibe.
That's the word I really like.
Any more questions for us?
Yeah.
You can check it out.
Beverages. How to make various Tibetan dishes or beverages?
Beverages.
I have no idea, so I'll leave it to you smart people, Lai Ming and Huangshan.
Well, I don't think this is any different from cooking outside of Tibet. You have a pot, you have fire or gas, and you cook. Although you might encounter the difference or the challenge of high altitude. You know, when it gets very high, the boiling point lowers. It's no longer 100 degrees Celsius. So many, for some kind of dishes, you need the pressure cooker in order to do that. And that was a joke.
That was a joke?
Well, although what I said was true, but the joke was...
is it a joke or not?
Although my joke is, I don't really know a lot about Tibetan cooking. But I heard that if you want to make the typical Tibetan butter tea, the butter that you use, you need to put milk in a tall container and then keep heating and stirring until the content, the butter, is separated from the liquid. So it's a time-consuming process.
Yeah, my favorite drink is sweet tea, and my favorite drink is the sweet tea, and the sweet tea is made from the Tibetan black tea and milk and sugar. It just tastes very similar like milk tea, but it's just richer. I think that the cooking procedure is quite simple. All I can think of is just put all the ingredients together and boil them.
Boil.
Yeah.
We are not very good cook of Tibetan food.
Yeah.
But we've had some amazing Tibetan food, and we've seen how tea is made, more or less, and we've tasted the very delicious sweet tea
and the butter tea.
And butter tea.
Maybe our next stop is go to one of those kitchens and try to really learn about how they're cooking.
Okay, that's a brilliant idea.
I can do that. You
Can I just
might want to
be
pass.
the one that eats the amazing food? How's that? You're listening and watching Roundtable. I am He Yang, and Lai Ming and Huangshan is here with us. And I hope you enjoyed today's show. Have a beautiful day, and stay tuned for more on our special series, Railway Trip in Tibetan Style. So we'll see you next time on Roundtable. Bye.
Bye.